Hey, good evening. This is Dr. Eric Live. Okay, what we have today is the first weekend of the legalization of cannabis sativa L with greater than 0.3% of by weight. Good evening, Susan. This is going to be a little talk about the other side of this coin of cannabis sativa L. The plant, the species, it would be like the apple species. Let's say that you have certain apples like Delicious, Macintosh, Honeycrisp. These are different apples. They look different, but they're the same species. Now, in cannabis sativa L, the, the CBD, all the cannabinoids that we've been talking about for all these 210 plus sessions, we basically are talking about different cannabinoids, and one of those cannabinoids is known as THC, 9-delta tetrahydrocannabinoid. And it is the one that has gotten most of the notoriety for all these years, and mainly because it's a psychogenic or psychedelic type of medication or plant that can cause a euphoria. And then it has really put the other 130, 140 cannabinoids in prison by guilt by association, so to speak, for many years. But we had a upheaval with the Farm Bill of 2018, where they separated hemp out from medical cannabis, or cannabis better known as marijuana. And I'm objectional to the word marijuana because it was picked just mainly as an immigration act back in 1937. It did a good job. It stuck, and it has stuck, and it has it's also been called Mary Jane. It's been called weed. It's been called reefer. So it has different names, but it's still cannabis sativa L. So by apple, by any other name, is still an apple. And cannabis sativa L by any other name is still cannabis sativa L. Now, I was listening to a program tonight. I was very glad to hear it. Hi, Kit. Okay. Hey, Jay. I was very glad to hear a program on public radio, on National Public Radio tonight, about the advantages of CBD, and that CBD can actually help to curb the cue receptors in the brain of addiction. It can help to suppress these addictions, this quest to get the quest for the morphine and for the heroin and what have you. Now, I started talking about this a study back in 2018. It was a small study, only about 50 people, and out of Mount Sinai, I believe, in New York. And they showed that there were different cue receptors in the brain that were affected by CBD. So we're using, it was a regular commentator asking questions. And hey, gang, this is, if you've grown up, through the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, if you started in the 60s, it was not against the law. But in the 70s, President Nixon made it a federal crime. So the black market came in and took over. But THC is now legal in the state of Maine. It's been legal for the last 4 years, but we couldn't get our stuff together, better known as SHIT, and so they just opened up the retail shops on Friday, I believe. So the retail shops, and I heard that there were lines around the block. And some of it's because it's novel, and some of it because people have been waiting a long time. We could have had, and we've had the right to grow cannabis in this state for theoretically for 21 years. We've had an alternative medical program in Canada. I mean, in the United States. In different locations. There's now 33 different states that have a medical cannabis or an alternative medical program. 33 states, last time I looked. It could be more. Malcolm Gladwell says it only takes 17% to get a tipping point. Well, I think we're almost at a tipping point. The vice presidential debate most recently, one of the candidates said that they're going to legalize cannabis, better known as marijuana. And the only distinction that was made in the Farm Bill is that cannabis, better known as hemp, and it used to be called industrial hemp. At one time, they called it industrial hemp, and that was saying that it had less than 0.3% by weight of THC. So everything is being judged on that bad boy, that THC, that 9-delta hydrocannabinoid. And when it comes out of the plant, it's THCA, and the THCA comes from CBG. And once it gets to THCA, it has to be decarboxylated. We've talked about that term a lot. And that decarboxylation will then reduce it down to THC. And that's why you have to light it up. And that's why you, now you can, if you get it down to the THC level, you can put it in brownies, which is customarily a famous situation. When you do edibles, though, you have to be a lot more careful because the absorption is much different. When you do it from an inhalational standpoint and heat it and smoke it, it only takes about 35 seconds. Then that's what I've read, or a short. Let's say it takes a very short period of time to get to the brain. Okay, and there's no overdosing because there are no CB1 and CB2 receptors in the brain stem where our respiratory center is, unlike the opioids that can actually kill us if we suppress them too much. And that's what 50 to 70,000 people per year wind up dying because of drug overdose. I think it's the fentanyl that has been most recent corporate. And then you get heroin that's much stronger, and people die in that regard. And we've had a lot of public safety situations trying to reduce the use of needles. There's been a lot going on over the course of the last 50 years. But now, cannabidiol with greater than 0.3 THC is now legal in the state of Maine, as it was 4 years ago. But they didn't have the previous governor said he wasn't going to allow it to happen on his watch. So it's taken about a year and a half since the new governor came in to line up all of the components necessary, the testing, the laboratory testing, the production, pricing, all those things. So it's here. Cannabidiol has been with less than 0.3 THC has been going on now for since the Farm Bill of 2018, December the 20th of 2018. That was no longer a Schedule 1 drug. Cannabis with greater than 0.3 is still a federal crime. It's just that 12 states, I think now, plus Washington D.C., have a recreational program that they've allowed. So what I have been doing from a business standpoint is realizing that a lot of people don't want that head high, but they want the benefits of THC and CBD. And I'm concentrating right now on going to different dispensaries. Dispensaries have been the flagship, or how you got your medical cannabis. As I said, 33 states have medical cannabis programs. Maine medical cannabis program is 21 years old. Yes, it started back in 1999. It was the fourth or fifth state in the United States to have an alternative medical program, with California, Oregon, and Washington being ahead of us, and I think Alaska and Maine came on at the same time. So we've had a number of people growing cannabis, and you could grow it for medical reasons, but you couldn't sell it. And now it's recreational, and it's being sold now to the public at large, because the state has depicted its sovereignty to be above and beyond that of the federal alliance, the federal government. So I'm going to another dispensary tomorrow, Canna RX, that I've stopped at several times, and I'm meeting with the owners. They have 2 or 3 stores, and I've been working on this for about a month, and so I want to thank Paul right now if he's listening. Thank you, Paul, for finally getting it set up. Um, so I will go see them tomorrow. We are already in Cureleaf. We're in Cureleaf. You can go to my Facebook page and you can like it. Um, Cureleaf is one of the bigger stores. They have 2 locations, so they're going to have 3 locations by the first quarter of next year. They have like 90 stores throughout the United States. I think 30 of them are in Florida, and we're real pleased about that. I have my cannabis, my CBD products, CBDA as well as CBD, and soon I'm working on CBG, which is the mother of all the cannabinoids, and I have it at the 420 shop in Hollowell, and so that they're going to have an appreciation day coming up, and I'll probably will post it so that a number of you can go. So now these are medical dispensaries. These are locations where you need a medical card. Most of the locations from Washington to Oregon to California, the medical programs were kind of dissembled to some extent in the past. And Maine has worked very hard, and I will give a big shout out, to Dawson Julia, because he's taught me a lot about CBD early on and THC, because he's been in it for a long time. He runs CBD East Coast CBD, and we thank him. He has worked very hard to get more maladies on the list. At one point in time, we had like 11 maladies that we could treat people with cannabis for those maladies, which included glaucoma, irritable bowel syndrome, and what have you. We got also post-traumatic stress. Maine got that on the list, and I'm really, really proud of them because of the effects that it has on our military veterans, and across the board. But it's not limited to the military. Post-traumatic stress is not limited to the military. We have people that have had sexual abuse or so horrific accidents that can suffer to a large extent from post-traumatic stress. I want to thank Dr. Gordon. Mark Gordon puts out every Sunday. He puts out a memorandum on his research for TBI and for traumatic brain injury, and that's another thing that it's much more widely spread than I ever thought, because we always think about the football players with the encephalitis, the chronic traumatic encephalitis. But it's amazing, whether it be high school football, Pop Warner football, whether it be basketball, whether it be soccer, whether it be field hockey. There are a lot of head injuries that occur, and that sets up that chronic low-grade inflammation. So I'm going to go to see Canna RX tomorrow and hopefully get into there. I'm already in several pharmacies, and Spruce Mountain Pharmacy has my setup. Okay, Valley Green Pharmacy in Green, Maine has the products. We are also in Medcom in Lewiston, which is another location. So we are working diligently to have a contract or a distributor contract going out to Florida and to Georgia and California, and worked on them this weekend. So if you think that there's any rest for the weary, wrong. So our objective, I will tell you this, that if you didn't hear my talk with the Modern Woodsman Financial Services, there's another one coming up on the 17th of November. Please mark your calendar. There I talked about the endocannabinoid system, but this is becoming mainstream. On NPR today, they had a program all on CBD, and we are very pleased that I think that we have been and are ahead of the curve, and we're trying to stay ahead of the curve. I drove down to Kennebunk to submit my third-party testing to Nielsen Analytics, and that's my 200-mile trip, from Livermore Falls down to Kennebunk. It's 100 miles each way, but we have to be able to get the third-party results to validate what's on the bottle, the label. We want to be in the bottle because we feel responsible as a physician. This is stuff that I'm formulating, and so I would put my 50 years of medicine on the line. So that's what I have tonight. Wish me luck, okay, that I can impress these owners so that they can fill their shelves with the vitamin CBD. Have you had your vitamin CBD today to help reduce your inflammation, to support your immune system? I hope you have. If not, go to dailyvitamincbd.com and you can get it today, and we'll get it in the mail tomorrow. So thank you very much. Have a good Sunday. God bless, Godspeed, and talk to you tomorrow. Out.